everybody, so it is another night and another Simply Cook recipe. We are really enjoying these recipes, I have to say. I'm really glad that I signed up for it. As always, I will leave a link down below if you want to go over to try the current. They did have free boxes for a while, but currently they're running get a box for £1. So that's the ingredients for 4 recipes, or the seasonings for 4 recipes for £1. To try out the service. So so far so good for us, and I definitely would recommend it. So tonight's recipe is really simple actually. It's Mexican pulled chicken with sweet potato fries served in buns like burgers. So mole, which is mole, not mole, from Puebla, Mexico, is traditionally a deep, rich flavoured one pot with ancho chili, chipotle and chocolate, which gives the sauce its dark colour. Our quick version of pulled chicken takes inspiration from the mole sauce, making for a tasty burger filling. The chipotle slaw adds crunch and colour, and the toasted brioche bun and the paprika sweet potato fries tie it all together nicely. So very simple, this one. All we need, there's the normal list of ingredients, are 3 little pots. So in this one it's Mexican seasoning, chipotle paste and mole sauce. So that's our 3 pots for this one. You can see it has a 2 level on the chili heat, so it'll be a little bit spicier than last night's Cajun food. But really all we need is some chicken thigh fillets. Now I've got more than the recipe calls for, but my experience so far with this is that the seasoning is enough to cover more of your main protein. And this is mainly boiling up the chicken, so we're poaching the chicken to do a quick version of making some shredded chicken essentially, and then we'll mix it with the sauce. So I've got 900 grams, the recipe calls for 500 grams. Once I've got the chicken cooked, if I just need to keep some aside to have on some salad or something, I will do that. I'll just see how much sauce I have. You want some sweet potatoes for the sweet potato fries. I've got the oven heating up to 200 fan. And then the recipe calls for mayonnaise, cabbage and carrots to make your own coleslaw, which then has a spicy mayo on it because you mix one of the seasonings in. I've taken a real shortcut here. I've got a regular coleslaw that I picked up from the grocery store that I will use for the coleslaw. But then the seasoning I'm going to mix with what was left from the creme fraiche from last night's dinner. And I will mix the spicy chipotle with that to make a dip for the sweet potato fries. I thought that would be quite nice. And then we've just got some brioche buns to serve it on, which we'll toast before we serve it up. So this really genuinely couldn't be simpler. And the first thing I need to do is get the chicken poaching, get the sweet potatoes cut into chips and get those seasoned with some olive oil and the seasoning and popped in the oven. So I will get both of those things underway, and then I'll come back and show you how they look. Okay, so there's our sweet potato fries ready to go in. So that's just 3 sweet potatoes that I've chopped into fries. Caleb is not eating tonight, so it's just Tony and I. And I've coated them with a tablespoon of olive oil and the contents of the Mexican seasoning pot, which smells like a smoky chili powder. So I think it's probably got smoked paprika, some chili, some cumin, that sort of thing in it. It's quite a nice smell to that. And then in the pot here, I've just got my water just coming up to a boil. I've just popped the chicken thighs in. They're going to poach for about 10 to 15 minutes until the chicken is cooked all the way through. And then we'll take them out of the pan onto a board and shred them with 2 forks before putting them back in the pan and adding the mole sauce. And then over here with my creme fraiche, I just stirred in the little pot of chipotle paste. Now they say to start with half of it and to see, kind of just taste it and see. Now we quite like a lot of spice, so you can see I've used certainly more than half, probably 3/4 of what was in there. And this isn't as much creme fraiche as the mayonnaise amount that you would use if you were making up coleslaw. So it is quite spicy, but the good thing with that is you just use as much of that as you want to. It's got a really nice kind of, chipotle has a smoky heat. So it is hot, it is spicy, but it's kind of smoky undertones to it, which ties in with that kind of barbecuey mole kind of feel. So that's going in the fridge back, and I'll put the coleslaw back in the fridge for a few minutes. The sweet potatoes are going in the oven. The chicken is just going to boil away for about 15 minutes, and then I'll take it out and shred it. And when I get to that point, I'll come back and show you what we do just to finish the meal off. Okay, so there is the shredded up chicken. Now what I would say Sorry, that's my oil heating. What I would say is that if I were doing this again, if the flavours are good on this and we decide to have this one again, I would put a whole chicken in the crock pot and let it cook all day, and then while the sweet potatoes are cooking, let it cool off and shred the meat. So poaching the chicken thighs, they just didn't shred very easy. You can see I've kind of sort of given up in places and left them as thick chunks, or not thick chunks, but pieces of chicken rather than a shredded chicken or a pulled chicken. They weren't pulling apart. They were cooked through, but they just weren't pulling apart in the way they do if they've just cooked all day or all afternoon. So I would either put chicken thighs in the crock pot for a few hours, or put a whole chicken in the crock pot for the whole day, and then use the meat from that, because essentially you're just getting the meat to the point where you can pull it or shred it, and then you're going to use it to put into the sauce and flavour it up ready for the buns. So I've put the brioche buns into the oven. I turned the oven off, the sweet potatoes are cooked. I've turned the oven off and put the brioche buns in there on a tray just to warm through. I've now got a little bit of oil heating, that's what you can hear sizzling. I'm going to add this pot, which is the mole sauce. You can see it does look like melted chocolate. I'm going to add that in, and then very quickly add the chicken to that and just combine and coat the chicken in this sauce. And then we will be done. So once we're ready to serve, I'll come back and show you the finished meal. Okay, so there is our finished product. So chicken is shredded up, it's got the mole sauce on it. I've just had a taste of it. That's got a really nice kick to it. That's really deep, that chocolate chili flavour that you get from mole. So although it's not very, because I had more chicken than the recipe called for, so the coating's not very thick on it. But once you add the oil and the mole, it does quickly start to stick to the bottom of the pan. So you get your chicken in, coat it, and then add a little bit of water. I added probably about 100 mils of water just to loosen up all the bits that are sticking on the bottom of the pan and get that flavour all the way through the chicken. But that looks really tasty. But because of that, I'm really glad that I left with a regular coleslaw rather than the spicy coleslaw, because I think that cold, cool, crisp crunch with that spicy chicken is going to be lovely. My brioche buns are just toasted a little bit. There's the delicious sweet potato fries, which look perfect and taste really good. And then on there, I've got a little dollop of the creme fraiche with the chipotle paste stirred through it, which again is a nice kind of cool but hot combo there to dip the sweet potato fries in. So actually really looking forward to this. I was a bit unsure as I was putting it together. I would definitely do something different with the chicken next time to make the. But if you were cooking a crock pot chicken all day, that would make the process even easier. So that would even speed up everything a little bit more. So really looking forward to trying this now, but we will come back and let you know our thoughts when we've finished.